Matt, welcome everyone to our the first session of our Thursday morning webinar series. It is just great. So many of you were able to attend this morning, and we have a great lineup today. So as we get going, we're just going to run through a quick overview slides about SEL Day and SEL4NJ, and then we'll dive deep into our session. Which should be really interesting for you. So I am going to start to share my screen. My name is Liz Hanson-Warner, and I am the current standing president of SEL4NJ. And SEL4NJ is just thrilled to be able to bring you this webinar series. So while people are arriving, I will just start to share my screen. So can you all see my screen? Yes? Okay. Well, as many of you may know, and there have been a flurry of emails sent out by all of the partners who are organizing SEL Day, that tomorrow is International SEL Day, that we're very excited. And one of the reasons we're really excited is New Jersey has always embraced the concept of SEL Day since its inception. And it's just a great day to celebrate all the wonderful work you're all doing in your schools already. So it should be mentioned that SEL Day, International SEL Day, is brought to you through a partnership of SEL4US, the Urban Assembly, 6 Seconds, and then here in New Jersey, SEL4NJ is very involved, actually, both nationally and within the state, of course. So for those of you who may not be aware, SEL4NJ is a state affiliate of a much larger organization called SEL4US. And as you can see from this map, there are SEL4 US state alliances across the country. And it's a wonderful network of people from educations and associations and organizations who are all working to promote high quality best practice SEL. In New Jersey, we're very, very proud to have been one of the founding members of SEL4US. We now have as of this morning, over 2,700 members. And it brings people who all have a shared vested interest in ensuring our schools and our students thrive. But it's an organization that spans educators, associations, organizations, community partners, SEL providers, and we are a 501c3 and at the moment an all volunteer-led organization. And all are welcome to join. If you have not joined, please do so, sel4nj.org. We talked about what the state affiliates do. We connect, we build awareness, we advocate for really good SEL implementation. And we provide all sorts of just helpful tools and resources, such as these webinars. So SEL Day itself, it was started 4 years ago. Actually, it started in March 2020, the month that will go down in infamy. This photo was taken the second SEL Day. You can see the kids are back in school wearing their masks, but it's a way around the world to celebrate SEL. And it is a global effort. I've just been seeing posts of schools in Vietnam and in Ukraine having SEL Day celebrations. So it's fabulous. All you need to do is to create an artifact and share it. An artifact could be a shout out to a colleague. It could be a big assembly you're doing. It could be just a bunch of kids, making the heart signs, anything just to promote kindness and somehow talks about SEL broadly defined. The most important thing is just to celebrate what you're already doing probably every day in your schools. And last year, huge success. And I'm very, here it said we had, letters from President Biden and Dr. Joe Biden, a bipartisan resolution last year. This year, we're really, really very proud to say is that yesterday, the New Jersey State Board of Education issued a resolution marking SEL Day and unanimously, and there were amazing positive words of support. And just this morning, Governor Murphy has signed a proclamation proclaiming tomorrow is SEL Day. So it's a really very exciting, and New Jersey can be very, very proud of how we've embraced SEL every day throughout the state. So again, what we talked about tomorrow, hashtag SEL Day and tag SEL4NJ in any posts. It's really fun, actually. And I am going to now turn it over to my wonderful colleagues, Bill Treshheim and Trish Heindel, who are going to be talking about how to earn a certificate in the leadership track of the Academy for Social Emotional Learning in Schools. If you are still thinking about SEL Day and need ideas, go to selday.org. And after Bill and Trish, we're going to immediately transfer into another webinar called What Does Social Emotional Learning Look Like in Elementary Schools? I cannot spell, evidently. And then going into school climate and SEL measurement. So that will be great. That's from Alicia Ray Howdliak and Pat Wright, who are going to be talking about the NJ Sky platform. So I am going to stop screen sharing, and I am going to turn this over to Bill and Trish, and they can introduce themselves in more thoroughly. So there we go.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen if you just give me a second.
While we're waiting for that, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us on this SEL Day Thursday. We are thrilled that you're here, and we are really excited to share an opportunity to you all, which we have been engaged in providing to educators since actually April of 2015. That is when the Academy was launched. So if you go to the next slide, this is a little bit of information about the two of us. And I am happy to be joined by Bill Treshheim, who has a long history of creating schools and districts where all students can thrive and everyone's voice is engaged, staff, parents, and students, of course. So the Academy for Social Emotional Learning in Schools is delivered in partnership between St. Elizabeth University, where I am, and Rutgers University. And I am the co-director with Dr. Maurice Elias of Rutgers, who has been one of the groundbreaking experts in incorporating social emotional learning and character education in schools, and helping schools to create the most positive climate that they can have in their school. So Bill has been involved even prior to the Academy launch, was one of the folks who we engaged to design the program. And we had a cadre of designers and input from people who, as Bill and I and Maurice have been engaged for years in this work. So that's who we are. We'd love to know who you are. So if you wouldn't mind, it would be great if you put your information in the chat, where you're from, and whether you are currently in what you would consider a school leader role. It would be great to know what state you're from, what country you're from. And as you'll hear in a minute, the Academy is global. So thank you, Stephanie, assistant principal. Hi, Kira, it's nice to see you. A counselor, another school counselor. So it's looking like we're getting a variety of folks. That's fabulous. Another school counselor. Wow, we have a lot of LPCs and school counselors on the call today, which is great. As Bill often shares, and I think he will now, that he encourages everybody who is an educator to think of themselves as a school leader. So Bill, do you want to?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks, Trish. You know, it's interesting because I don't think you have to have a title to be a leader. I mean, if you think about being in a classroom, how many decisions do you have to make on any given day to make a lesson effective? You know, I mean, how many decisions do you have to make in a given day to establish a positive relationship with kids? And one of the things I believed as a principal and as superintendent, distributing leadership was always important to me. So I think everyone who is involved in education is in fact, a de facto leader. And so, we've had many people enroll in this academy program, ranging from superintendents, CEOs of institutions and organizations, down to classroom aides. And I think they all benefit from the work. And so it's important for you to realize that you are already leaders, and that you already have a say, and you should have a say in your school. I think that's a very important aspect. And I think if you look at it that way, this academy could be for everybody.
Yes, thanks, Bill. So I think that is important to underscore that we really encourage educators to join the academy. No matter if you do have a leadership title or you're an aspiring leader, or as Bill said, as an educator, you are a leader already. So the next slide gives you a little bit of some highlights about the academy and what we tried to create when we created the Social Emotional Learning Academy. So we really wanted to provide an opportunity for like-minded educators who are doing this work or wanting to learn about how to create a positive climate, how to incorporate social emotional learning and character development in the classroom, school-wide, together, so that they could share and learn from each other. In 2015, there were pockets of people doing this work from all over the globe. And one of the things that participants have told us, that is one of the benefits of being a part of the academy, is the continued relationships and connections that they have after they complete the academy with educators who they can rely on, who they can share successes with. The facilitators in the program, as I alluded to earlier, have substantial experience in being school leaders, teachers, counselors in schools that really are places where students and staff thrive. We wanted to create a mix of asynchronous opportunities for learning, because we do know that educators are really busy and wanted you to be able to do some things on your own time. But we also wanted there to be an opportunity for community building beyond the community building that happens in the asynchronous conversations that take place in discussion boards. So we do have synchronous workshops to create that place where all folks can come together who are going through the program together. There are 2 certificates available in the academy, one for instruction of social, emotional, and character development and creating a positive climate in classrooms, in after-school programs, in any setting where you are one-on-one with students or groups. And then the school leadership level, which we're going to focus on today. So the next slide gives you a sense of some of the places where people have come from. This is outdated, I will say. We have had more participants from other countries across the globe and more states, but just gives you a sense of the community that we're building in what we hope to be a large, thriving virtual professional learning community. And so there are people who are getting up at midnight, who are in different time zones to be in those synchronous workshops and be present. So the next slide, as I said, is going to start our focus on the leadership level for social emotional learning in schools and districts, where we want to be able to help folks to achieve a very integrated, systemic approach to social emotional learning, character development, and school climate. So these are some of the learning outcomes that the courses are designed to meet. We do lead off really looking at social emotional leadership styles, and we have a lot of opportunities for self-assessment and the opportunity for growth that comes from that. So these are just some of the specific outcomes that we hope to achieve throughout the program. The next slide gives you the structure of each certificate. Is similar. As I said, it's an all online certificate program. For the instruction level as well as the leadership level, there are 3 course sequences that are completed for the certificate. And the 3 courses for the leadership level are foundations, strategies, and then a practicum. And the practicum gives you an opportunity to actually design and implement, with guidance, mentorship from your facilitator as well as your peers, a project in a school. So Bill is going to take us through some of the details of these courses. So again, you get a flavor for what you're going to be experiencing when you're in the academy. It would be helpful if folks could mute themselves if they're not muted already. That
Okay, as Trish mentioned earlier, there are really two types of activities that we do in the academy. The synchronous activities, they consist of online workshops using Zoom, and every one of each of the three courses do have these Zoom sessions that are interspersed throughout the courses. The participation in those online sessions is really important because it does constitute 25% of the course grade, but more importantly, what it does is it allows a class to become a group. And one of the things that has always amazed me about working in the academy was how fast these classes of people, sometimes from around the globe, do become dynamic groups. And it's really a wonderful thing. We've seen a lot of interchange between the students in these groups outside of class. And I know that there are relationships that were established in our academy program that have lasted long since people have finished the academy. In addition, there are asynchronous activities. Those are offline assignments, and you get to do those at your own pace. There are readings and article summaries in 101. There are discussion forum questions and responses in all three courses. The most in 201, the least in 301. We have some culminating activities, including an elevator pitch in 101, where you get to advocate for some aspect of what we talk about in the academy. And we do a final presentation in 101, which is really the beginning of hopefully a presentation that our participants will be able to use in their school or in their job responsibility. In 201, the last 3 weeks of a 12-week program is devoted to creating an action plan for a proposal for the student participant to make a difference and implement in their school or in their work setting. That project is then honed, refined, and implemented in 301. And all of 301 is really devoted to the implementation of that project under the mentorship of the course facilitator. Talking now about 101, it's a 7-week course, and you can see the description here. I'm not going to read it all to you, but it's kind of important to realize that this is it's called Foundations. And basically what this does is it makes sure that we're all on the same page in terms of our concept of what this is. And maybe one of the most important things to realize is something that Trish mentioned earlier. It's the interplay and the interconnection of SEL, social emotional learning, character strengths and character development, and the importance of establishing a positive school culture and climate. And so those foundations are laid in 101. Now, one of the things that we worked very hard on in developing these three courses is that we wanted to model an implementation approach that would help a school move through the entire process of implementing this work in the school. And so one of the things that you're going to notice is that when we set up the course, it's something that you can actually follow. And so when we do that, you don't really need to, you can look at this slide later because this is just a background. But here's the structure of the course and the concept that that we hope that we can show you throughout all three courses. What we do is we start with the vision. We ask the question, what does an ideal school look like? If you could transform your school into the perfect school or the dream school, and it is an opportunity to dream because we ask you to do this without limit. what would it look like? What aspects would be there? What would you focus on? Second, we move on to what core values do you believe in that, first of all, regulate the behavioral expectations of everyone in the school, adults and students alike, and what kind of core values do you want your students to graduate having mastered? We move on to the concept of school culture and climate. Culture is the way we do things here, the legacy, practices, ceremonies, and climate refers to day-to-day perceptions of the tone of the school. And those are very important. And we start with school culture and climate in the course because we believe that is foundational. And it's also an institutional concept that helps students and adults move on to building both their social emotional learning and their character strengths. Once we've established the thought about school culture and climate, we move on to social emotional learning. And again, we take a broad view of this. We would really call this social, emotional, and character development because we believe that character piece is really important. So we talk about the CASEL domains, the 5 domains, which of course are really the focus of this week as SEL week. And we also talk about other approaches, starting with character education and moving on to some other things like positive discipline, restorative practices, morning meetings, things like that, that also help to instill these social, emotional, and character strengths and competencies into a school. Then we talk about how do we implement this into a school, including best practices and the benefits of the work. Finally, we talk about leadership style, and this is just really an introduction to something that's going to happen more in 201, and the role of leaders in creating a positive climate. Following that, we're going to just give you a little quick sample, and this is going to be very compressed because we're short on time today. But this is an example of the kind of activity that we would do in the class, and the question would be, the decision about what is valued in a school is an important one. Choosing a set of core values should involve the entire community. And I would want you to take a few minutes, if we had time, and we would want you to think about how you might accomplish this on a small scale in your school. And there are 3 steps here. You're thinking about the qualities that you think are important. This would pick 3 or 4 of the most essential ones that you would like everybody to model. And then if we were in the classroom, we would then discuss the choices, and maybe we would come down to a decision of just a few of these character traits or core values that we think are the most important. So I'd like to invite you just to take a minute, and if you would like, just to put some of those values in the chat, whatever what core values you think would be important. If you look at the top of this screen, you can see some that are very popular. Those are the 6 pillars of character through character counts. But you don't have to choose those. You can choose the ones that you think are the most appropriate. And Trish is going to monitor the chat.
Yeah, we've got a few coming in too. So kindness, respect, integrity, empathy, another vote for empathy, compassion, empathy, collaboration, responsibility. See if we can get
well, those are all great. Those are all great choices, and this should be a process because what's really important is if you're deciding on what values are important in your school community, it's great to get input from lots of places. It's not something that, like, for example, at the top of the screen, you see character counts. This isn't something that an administrator should say, we're doing character counts, and those are the 6 values. It doesn't give you a proper opportunity to discuss why they're important or what they look like. So, that is, the process is really important. So thanks for sharing those thoughts, and we're going to move on in the interest of time. At the end of 101, we talk about how do we advocate for SEL, character development, and school culture and climate. The elevator pitch that I mentioned, it's a short speech. You need to pick a message, and you need to pick your audience. And the students do have an opportunity to share their pitches during the last online workshop. The culminating activity for 101 is a final presentation. And I mentioned that before. It's really a short 10-minute presentation with narration. And it really is just the start of perhaps a larger presentation that we would encourage students to use where they, where they work, whether it's a school or an institute or whatever, or an organization. So, that's really the nickel tour of 101. And that leads directly into 201, which is called Strategies for SEL Leadership. The 201 course really does talk more about leadership style, practices, and some of the other focuses that you need to have when you begin to think about doing this work, doing a school improvement project, whether it's informal or formal assessment, whether it's deciding on whether all groups are honored and provided for. And what we're going to do is we're going to move now to a little bit of a look. Excuse me, my mouse isn't cooperating all the time. But this is the structure of 201. And again, it's conceptual. We begin by exploring leadership qualities, doing a personal assessment and a reflection. And I want to say that we do focus on servant leadership, the leader who serves the follower. We talk about assembling an SEL team, whether it's a team or committee, whether it's professional learning communities, who to involve, what steps to take. Then we talk about effective communication. And we do an exercise where we craft an effective SEL message. We do assessments, both informal and formal, on culture and climate primarily. And then we actually do an exercise where students will do a data analysis on some data that is provided from a middle school. And they get a chance to look and see how they might use that data and how they would address it. Having data is great. Using it is what you need to do. We talk about policy considerations, and it's interesting when people from schools and districts look at what the policies are in their district. Sometimes they find that that the language regarding this work is somewhat lacking. We worked with one district that has worked on revamping some of their policies to include it, which we think is really appropriate. We look at examples of vision and mission statements, and that ends up with creating another one that is, something that they would want to have for their own school. And finally, we talk about the beginnings of leading organizational change. Who are your allies? Who are barriers to change? And how do you address special interest groups? This is another sample exercise that we would do in 201. And what we do in 201 is we look at personal leadership qualities and how these impact a school leader, and the differences that a leader can make and how their leadership style impacts others around them. The exercise that we would do here would be thinking about school leaders and ones you've worked with, and thinking about some positive qualities that those leaders had, and conversely, some behaviors in other leaders that you didn't appreciate. So just for about a minute, if you'd like to share some thoughts about that in the chat, we'd appreciate that. And again, Trish will monitor that, and we'll see what you think. So just about a minute, and we'll do this exercise quickly.
So how did that leader make you feel? And maybe a little bit of why underneath that, if you want to share. And if someone wants to unmute and share, that's fine too. Two qualities of a leader that you really appreciated. A leader who makes you feel important when you're in their space with a concern. Thank you, Stephanie. Being heard, right? Being listened to. Capable, competent, a valued thought partner. I love that partner piece, Kira. Again, I think you mentioned collaboration before as one of your core values as well. Anybody else? 2 qualities. How that made you feel? Okay, it's something to continue to think about as well, and then of course model those qualities that you really appreciated in another leader.
Yeah, and I think that certainly one of the things that we do advocate for in terms of leadership style is a leadership style. Again, it exists on a curriculum, on a continuum from being very direct, very collaborative, and it's best when you can have a leadership style that's collaborative and that you help to lead to develop leadership abilities in others. That's when things really start to happen in the school. So thank you for sharing your thoughts on that. And the culminating activity of 201 is to build a final project, and this really is something that's very personal for people in the course. I mean, you look at your school, you look at the needs of the school, and you decide on something that you might want to address as a project. And the last 3 weeks of a 12-week course here are spent in developing this project and putting together an action plan. And you get feedback and suggestions from the course facilitator in 201, and then the next step for you is to move on with that action plan to 301. And 301 is called a practicum because it is a practical experience. It's a 16-week course. It's the longest of the courses, and oddly, it has the least number of synchronous meetings. But it's a lot more individualized between the course facilitator and the participant. And you'll see in a minute how we divide up 301 to help our students implement their plans. Again, they work closely with the facilitator to implement the project. The meetings are only monthly for the whole cohort of the group, but there are also individual or small group online meetings that occur more frequently. There are asynchronous topics that help participants understand different facets of leading an SEL implementation. So that's basically what 301 looks like, but it's divided into 4 phases. And the first phase, the first 4 weeks, is talking about the implementation process, forms and agreements. In other words, getting some kind of an agreement in your school or your organization to be able to do the work, and then doing a further review of your plan with, again, under the guidance of a mentor. The personal identity and leadership is important because it's important for people to continue to understand their leadership styles, who to work with, what you need. And now it's more specific to your project because now you need to make those decisions in terms of what will make your project happen. We talk about the change process, the ingredients, again, as assets and barriers, who to involve, what snags happen along the way. We have many stories about the good news and bad news as we implement projects. Sometimes people have to pivot halfway through but that's part of understanding the implementation process. And finally, how do you sustain the effort? We ask, even though the course ends, we ask people to come up with a 3-year sustainability plan, because one of the things that we want to see happen is we want to see them continue the work. This is this is the final portfolio. This is the final piece of the Academy program. And it consists of a narrative summary. In other words, telling people about the process, telling people about your project, a final action plan with all the revisions and everything that we've talked about, artifacts that kind of show the project, the sustainability plan, and a reflection journal, because we do believe that reflection is really important. And the reflection journal is a reflection on 2 things. Number 1, we ask them to reflect on the process of doing the project. And number 2, we ask them to reflect on their experience in the Academy. And we do look at those reflections rather closely because we believe that the Academy should be in a state of continuous development. And when we see something from our participants on that reflection, we take that to heart. So that's the nickel tour. And now we'll talk about the courses in action. I'll turn it back over to Trish for this.
Thank you, Bill. And thank you for walking us all through the structure and the content and some of the benefits that that one can experience being a part of the Academy. And once in the Academy, always in the Academy, we like to say, because we do want to create a virtual professional learning community that will continue to thrive since our launch in April of 2015. As Bill mentioned earlier, there were some surprises when we created the Academy, and Maurice Elias, the co-director, has been able to join us. So welcome, Maurice. We were trying to get a balance between the synchronous and asynchronous activities in the Academy, and we really think that we do have a really nice balance, and we've heard from participants that it is a very good mixed educational experience, but they really enjoy being together synchronously with one another and networking opportunities that continue beyond people finishing and earning the certificate. We've heard a lot about as well. The next slide. I think the next one, Bill?
Yeah, this isn't always cooperating.
That's going backwards.
As you can see.
Okay, so we recently had a great experience, and we want to share that quickly. We want to leave time for Q&A as well, so we'll wrap up in a couple of minutes. But we had a very large countywide district in Maryland who contacted us with a great idea to have 40 of their district level and school level folks from across the county complete the Academy together as a cohort. So many of the people who joined the Academy from that district had never even really met each other, since it was such a large district. But it enabled the district to really move forward their objective of really systematically, and fully integrating social emotional learning mission and objectives throughout this very large district. So any of you who are among colleagues who might be interested, it is an opportunity for you all to go through this together. We've had teams from schools very often through the program, but this district-wide, very large county district was a really unique experience, and was really well received. So we just wanted to point that out as an opportunity to think about going through the Academy with some colleagues, with some peers. It's always nice to have colleagues, and as Kira mentioned, thought partners, so you're not a lone wolf or on an island by yourself. So the rest of these slides, and you'll get all these slides, Bill will flip us through, but these are testimonials from students who have completed the program. And feeling reassured that you're not the only one who is having or experiencing challenges in doing this work. Having others to share successes and celebrate successes with is great. Being part of the program allows a lot of opportunity for reflection, which I mentioned earlier, and participants in general always respond very positively to those opportunities for reflection on the project, but also a reflection on themselves. So we just want to give you, these are more testimonials, but we want to get to a slide that shows you actually how to join. And then we'll go back to Q&A. So this slide gives you the link to applying. You hit the enroll button, and that'll take you to an application. We have all tried to make sure that this Academy is accessible. So we have kept it very affordable, and the entire certificate can be earned for under $1,200. We really want to push this work forward and globally, and that is the heart of what we are engaged in this work for. So let's go back to opening up for some Q&A, so we can stop sharing. There's a lot more information in the PowerPoint that you'll get, but we would love to spend the next couple of minutes that we have left hearing questions that you have. and happy to talk more about any of the details of the Academy that you want more clarification about. So just feel free to either unmute, oh, thank you, or ask in the chat. Is there a date for the start of the first session? All of the entire year schedule is on that page, that enroll page, and you can take a look at that. We run the SEL 1.0 course quite frequently throughout the academic year. The 201 course we run a little less frequently, and the practicum course is offered once in the fall and once in the spring, and generally you can complete the whole certificate program in about a year and a half. So thank you for that question. The dates are all there. We also have included the dates for those synchronous workshops as well, so that you can plan ahead and check out. Any other questions? And again, the 101 course is the shortest of the three. It's 7 weeks. Any other questions or comments or?
Trish, do you think you could, or Bill, do you think you could put the website address in the chat?
Doing it right now.
Perfect. Thank you.
And I would just like to add my thanks to all of you for coming to our session. I hope that that you found it to be informative. We believe very strongly in the benefit of the Academy, and again, we've tried to keep it affordable. It's much more affordable than many other programs that are out there. You do get a certificate following the third course. I will give you a disclaimer that we do not have a graduate credit associated with the course. You'd never get that for $1,200 for a year and a half's work. I think that one of the things that's important to understand is that this does, as I said before, it conceptually models how you would go about doing this work in your school. And one of the things that we have found coming back from our participants is that they have been able to follow that model, and as a result, they have been able to really make a difference in their school. And that's why we run the Academy. It's to see the work that we do actually have an impact out there in the field, and we're very satisfied that that's happening. So I'd like to thank you all for being here today, and certainly if you have any questions, when you get the PowerPoint, you'll have Trish's email and my email, and you're certainly welcome to send us any questions you might have. So thank you all for being part of it today.
Oh, we have one more question.
Okay.
Hi, Erica, thank you for the question. Does the certificate give you the title as an SEL specialist? I would think that having a certificate in social emotional learning and character development would enable you to apply for such a job with that title. But I can't say that that it gives you that title. But yes, we have, as a matter of fact, when we started the Academy, I was getting phone calls from people who would say, I've just been appointed the district SEL coordinator. I don't even know what SEL stands for. So it's really great that these job titles have been created and have grown in number. But I would think that this would be a very, very good thing to have on your resume if you are planning to apply.
Okay.
Yeah, well, there are so many titles. That's so true. So true.
This was great, Bill and Trish. Thank you so much, and really encourage you all to check out SELinschool.org. It's a fabulous certificate, and also the direct instruction that's offered through Rutgers. So by going on the site, you'll find links to everything. So we are very tight today because we took the opportunity. We had so many